Live from the mist-enshrouded mountaintop fortress that is X and Y Communications headquarters, you're listening to the world-famous Mountaintop Podcast. And now, here's your host, Scott McKay.
All right. Welcome again, gentlemen, to yet another episode of the world-famous Mountaintop Podcast. My name is Scott McKay, at Scott McKay on Twitter and Clubhouse. Real Scott McKay on Instagram, Scott McKay on YouTube. You can find us on the web at mountaintoppodcast.com, and the Facebook group, as always, is the Mountaintop Summit. With me today is a guy I've known for, it's got to have been 13, 14 years now. He's a great guy. He and I think alike on a lot of things, yet his wavelength is always a little bit different than mine, which makes our conversations invariably wonderful and valuable. You guys know him as the kingpin over at Ars Amorata. His name, according to himself, rhymes with carry-on, but you can call him Zan Perrion. Zan, welcome back to the show, my good friend.
Thank you for having me back again, Scott.
Yeah, man. And nowadays you're living in Bucharest, Romania. And I imagine as much of a gypsy spirit as you've been over the years, you've been there for quite a while with the lockdown over there in Romania, right? You're champing at the bit, proverbially speaking, to travel again. It's nice of a city as it is. But yeah, man, you're a traveler by heart. So what's going on? How you feeling?
It's been slapped out of me for sure for the last year and a half. In January 2020, I went to Florence, Italy for a month to sit in a hotel room and work on my second book. And I haven't traveled since. Came back here in February and haven't traveled since, which is very strange.
Man, that's a heck of a place to go lock oneself into a hotel room. I think if I was going to lock myself in a hotel room, it would be someplace really, really boring, not fun and vibrant.
Well, that was what I was looking for, because every year I take a pilgrimage. The year before that, I went to the Black Sea and rented a little villa there. And yeah, I want someplace boring. And so I essentially, but I picked, it was winter, and I thought, well, I don't want to go to England and I don't want to go north. I thought of different places, and I just thought, I'll go to Florence and sit in that. And I didn't leave my hotel room for a month. I was right dead center. And, but there's nobody there. It's definitely off tourist season. It's a little cold. And I would go into, for instance, Uffizi Gallery, and I'm standing by Botticelli's Birth of Venus by myself, and normally there's like 100 people in the room. And so, but I only went out a few times. I really just stayed in the hotel room, told the maid to, leave new towels every day and see ya. And I sat there day and night with the windows closed and heat cranked up, and I like to do that.
Well, yeah, the irony there is none of us have probably seen this phenomenon with our own eyes because it is about tourism, but it must be weird to live in a very heavily traveled tourist mecca and have no tourists around and stand in front of something that's just iconic with nobody else there to watch it with you.
Yeah. And so here was me with this wonderful idea to go to Florence, and I was going to go to an island in Greece or something, but I picked Florence. And it's an hour and a half or 2 hour flight from Romania. And anyway, I get there and I turned off the internet for the entire month. I would call my girl on Sundays only. That was our arrangement. We missed each other terribly. It was fantastic. But I didn't go on the internet. I just read books and studied and wrote. And I came back refreshed and inspired, thinking this is fantastic. The next week, the world locked down. So I imposed the lockdown on myself for a month. And then after that, we were locked down again.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Basically trained yourself to be in lockdown unwittingly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Minus the masks, of course.
Minus the masks and the propaganda. Wow. That's right.
Now, you just mentioned girlfriend. Last time I talked to you, you were fixing to get married.
Yeah. And my wife. Yeah. It's just old habits I heard. We call each other boyfriend and girlfriend. She's my sweetie.
Emily's still my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said to somebody probably 3 or 4 months ago, I'd love to come to your event, but can I bring my cute little girlfriend with me?
Perfect.
And the guy said to me, girlfriend, I thought you were married. I said, oh, yeah, we've been married darn near 15 years, but she's still my cute little girlfriend. And
yeah, exactly.
I think it was actually a lady, and I did it to charm her, which you and I both love to do. And that, of course, brings us with a nice, friendly segue to today's topic du jour, which you indeed are the man to discuss this topic with, for sure. Which is feminine gifts and all the wonderful things women do for us. Now, obviously, Zan, we all know that it's nice to have sex with women. Lots of guys for whom that's the main purpose for women to be here, is to basically be life support systems for their vaginas so that we can have sex with them and that they can bring us pleasure. But you know what's really strange, Zan, is even in that context, men inherently recognize that women should be bringing us pleasure. Yet you've got all these guys, the manosphere, the MGTOW guys, who I know don't like my message at all. They sort of need me not to exist because I'm happy with a great woman and we make each other's lives wonderful, and I have a high view of women. And yet, like me, you also have a high view of women. Women haven't always been wonderful and pleasant to you because, we're all humans around here. But we're not exactly wrong as men when we think of women as being designed for our pleasure. Yet, where do you think these guys go all wrong, thinking, from a physical pleasure sense, I'd love to have sex with as many of these chicks as I can. Yet, in every other area of life, they're just going to ruin me. They're going to take my money, pop out a baby with me who I'm going to support for 18 years and never get to see, slap rape charges against me when I thought this was consensual. All these ideas, some men imagine that women are here to ruin us, when in reality, they really are here for pleasure, at least by design, unless they're broken. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how so many men you think got misguided, or I don't know, in their mind, they're not misguided, are they? They simply got guided into thinking that women are no darn good except for sex. Yet here you and I are in a conversation that's going to make a lot of guys roll their eyes about how wonderful women are and how much more enrichment they can bring to our lives.
Yeah, I spent my life, studying women, and my 20s being massively insecure and rejected by women and feeling lost and alone and lonely. And I know that feeling. And, the world's not a nice place. There are men who are not nice, and there's women who are not nice. There's not all sugar and spice. Women are not all, perfect creatures that we should aspire to and put on pedestals. No, we're all broken. And, what's strange is someone asked me one time fairly recently, said, Zan, in all those years, right into my, late 30s, just really struggled to figure it out. And I had no help. There was no dating coaches back then. There was nothing really on the internet. And I did no books and stuff like that. And so basically I did my 10,000 hours of going out to bars and putting myself in the proximity of women and asking girls out and getting quote unquote flaked on. And after 2 dates, they would know, they just drifted away from me. The whole thing, I've seen everything, right? And I was always lonely and alone and feeling really hurt and all these kinds of things. And then this guy asked me, did you ever get discouraged enough that you considered giving up? And it never once occurred to me. I said, no matter what, if other guys have this figured out, I'm going to figure it out too. So I never got, which I think with the men you're talking about nowadays, this real discouraged world view, Weltschmerz. I never got that feeling that it's useless, it's broken, marriage is destroyed, women have too much power, women are mean, women have the law on their side. I never really went down this discouraging thought process. I just said, no, I'm going to figure this out, whatever the cost, I'm going to figure it out. Then I built a whole, philosophy. I wrote an entire book about it.
Yeah, the Alabaster Girl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, great book, and very popular, especially with the guys who think along the same lines you do, and in many ways, the same lines I do.
I'll tell you this, Scott. I have had a lot of guys message me from these communities you're talking about. Is it Red Pill or something? Blue Pill?
The Red Pill guys, yeah. Manosphere,
Red Pill, yeah.
MGTOW guys, yeah.
And there's even, on even if you look on the Amazon reviews, you'll see guys will say, listen, I went down this red pill path. And then I discovered this book and I realized, wait a minute, no, this is more aligned with my spirit and who I really am. And I was discouraged going down that path and thought it was the only way. That's a pretty strong message, obviously, a dominant one.
You know what's fascinating to me, Zan, and maybe you can comment on this, is you and I have lots of peers. There are lots of different guys, even fellas who've made a name for themselves over the years by doing good, solid work in the men's dating advice space, in the masculinity space, dating relationships. But yet, even with the depth of expertise out there, you and I remain notable in this space for actually liking women, as if that's a rare, interesting feature of what we do. And it just strikes me as odd. As a matter of fact, I have to joke with you a little bit about something. When your name comes up in conversation, I always joke with people that you're the only guy I know who loves women more than I do. And
there you go.
In context with that, I joke that I sometimes love to go ride my bicycle or have dinner out or maybe go on a trip or go hiking or surfing or something. It's all women all the time. You mentioned the Malcolm Gladwellian idea of 10,000 hours. Dude, you've got to have probably 100,000 hours. It's just women for you. You just are addicted to women.
I've done nothing else. It's true. Nothing.
Yeah. See, I don't even mind.
I have no other hobbies.
I don't even mind sharing the joke with you because it's just so fascinating to me that you've just been all in with women forever. And,
since I was a little boy looking up skirts, I love women's bodies. I like the way they're shaped. If I see an 80-year-old woman comes into the room, I light up. There's something, you know what I'm thinking? Thinking, man, what was she like when she was 20? I'm not kidding. I'm thinking that. What did she do in her life? What crazy things did she do? How bad of a girl was she? I'm curious about that.
It's interesting you would bring that up because I'll share this with guys sometimes, especially when they come here and I take them out in fields, that one of the earmarks of a guy who truly likes women is it has nothing to do with how physically attractive she is and or how sexually available she might be to him.
Correct. 100%. And anybody in history, Casanova really cared and he really liked the idea of women. The idea of women made him light up. And all the guys I know and there's been very few who are super, super good with women on that level. They just love women. They like everything about women. They're kind to women. Doesn't matter if they're not their body type or, not attracted to her. They're super, super, they make her feel beautiful and make her feel seen.
Right.
Without question.
Yeah. I think that's very intuitive. Not only do guys who like women do well with women, they're the same guys who aren't afraid of women. And those probably are two interrelated features of their psyche. In other words, because I like women, I don't fear them. I don't think they're going to do something bad to me or be untowards. So therefore, since I like women, I, love women as opposed to fearing them. If you're of the mindset that there really are only two emotions, love and fear, if you don't like these women, you're going to fear them. And then when you fear women, they follow your lead and then they fear you and then they don't like you. And then it becomes this domino effect that leads to these guys being really bitter and saying, oh, these women are horrible, et cetera, et cetera. Yet if you start with actually liking women, the next thing you know, you're going to notice that, hey, they're responding really well to me because after all, I like them. I welcome them. I make them feel good about themselves. And then the women respond to that lead by liking you in return. Therefore, your confidence is built and the snowball gets rolling in the correct direction, right?
That's right. Like, one of the signature quotes that people have underlined and pulled out of my book and stuck on Instagram, et cetera, is this phrase, which I'm known for, which is a man who loves women is loved by women. There's no other way.
Yeah, absolutely.
They take care of you. They give you their bodies, their energy. They adore you. They want you to succeed in life. They want to inspire. They want to be amused to you because they feel that it's in return. So a man who loves women is loved by women, and there's no other way. You can get sex with a lot of girls if you got a lot of money. You can be a bad boy, kind of a bad boy, and maybe broken girls who had problems in the past will respond to that, and it becomes a need-based things on both sides, but to be adored, but devotion, to have devotion from women. I have ex-girlfriends who have complete devotion to me and they're married. And one woman from Poland that I used to see every time I go to Poland, she sent me a message the other day and said, Zan, I wanted you to be one of the first to know that I have a baby. And she's married to the guy. And my wife and I went to Poland 6-7 years ago. We had a 24-hour layover. We went to her house and she was there with her boyfriend who's now married to her. And we had a blast. And this is a girl I used to sleep with. And there's just a celebration in the air. And I bring my girl and all of us together, and she made some Polish food for us. It was there's no such thing as your ex that spit out word when you have real devotion and you're not lying and your agenda's clear and you care.
Well, because there's more to it than sex.
That's correct.
Kudos to her husband for being so gracious with you, because obviously he gets it also. But there's so much to talk about there. There's a richness to this topic that I'm sure we're not going to cover in a mere 30 or 40 minutes, but we're going to We're going to take a shot at it anyway, just because it's so much fun. You know,
Perfect.
You're talking about women who aren't available sexually, yet we're still going to be kind to them. We're still going to enjoy their presence because they're women and we like women. So heck yeah, I'll flirt with the 80-year-old, perhaps great grandmother who's serving samples at the grocery store, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she is thrilled that she is getting masculine, feminine flirtation attention from a guy. You know, these guys know I do play-by-play announcing for my kids' BMX races. And there's little girls and little boys from 4 or 5 years up on, you know, and I'm a dad, you know, we've had 4 kids cross in and out of this house. 2 of them are still here and 2 boys, 2 girls. And I know how to relate to kids. And I realize little boy kids are different than little girl kids. And there's this little girl who races BMX and she's 5 years old. She races in the 5 novice class. And I went over to her because she was doing something that could theoretically cause her to crash and perhaps hurt herself. And I wanted to make sure she didn't do that. When the gate drops in a BMX race, it's fed by hydraulics, you know, so it actually drops faster than gravity for the faster riders. When they click the button for the gate to come back up, it is going to be lifted with hydraulics. And this little girl was getting in the habit of trying to roll down the gate after the gate dropped when it was about to come back up. And if that happens at the wrong time, it'll flip her right over. Okay. So I was explaining all that to her. And she just looked at me and goes, "Thank you, Mr. McKay. I really like you. And I missed you when you weren't here last week." And she gives me a hug. And she's a 5-year-old little girl who's not my daughter. And I just melted. I was like, "Oh, I missed you too, sweetie." And I hugged her. And her mom was standing there watching it all happen and looks at me with these eyes of just pride and adoration towards me.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it has nothing to do with anything other than that I thank the good Lord that he created femininity on this earth. Guys who open the door for women because they're hot and let it slam on the grandmother behind them are just completely missing the point, aren't they, Zan?
Yeah, you know, I had a couple guys that came to my coaching in Romania a few years ago. And I remember this very specific. We had about 2 or 3 guys. And there was these hot girls at a table. We were standing in this loungy area. And they're all having shots and drinking. They were hot. And the guys were all looking at me and then looking at the girls and then sidling over to the table, if you know what I mean, right? You can see that. And then, and over my shoulder, I noticed that these 2 girls were standing by the wall by themselves, and they were not quote unquote attractive in the conventional sense. They were, but they were there. And I thought, you know what? I invited these 2 girls. I instantly reached out to them, say, "Hey, come meet my friends. Come stand with us. Come have a drink with us." And they came, and they were all happy. And because, you know, the way I look at it is this: those girls, before they came out, they went to each other's place. They tried on different outfits. They did each other's hair. They said, "What about these earrings? What about this? And should I wear this? No, don't wear that lipstick. Wear this one." And they got themselves in their best presentation to come out to show themselves and be seen and maybe meet somebody. And how can someone turn their shoulder to that and say, "No, I'm not interested in that"? That makes no sense to me. And not only that, and I want that table of hot girls to see this. That's important, you know, to see that there's that, you know, benevolent type of spirit. And it's not charity. It's like saying, you know what, you girls are girls too, and you dressed up and you're looking mighty fine, and come meet my friends here. And we had a great time with those girls. So there's something in me that says, you know, that there's something in me for the downtrodden, because I was not included when I was a boy. I was the last one picked on the team. No girls wanted me, you know, and I was unincluded. I know what it's like to be not seen, and I will not abide it. It doesn't happen. If I have a bit of a house party, or I'm at a house party and there's a bunch of people sitting around, and I see Scott is over there in the corner, no one's talking to him, and he pulls out his phone, I instantly stop what I'm doing, whatever conversation, whatever thing, and I say, "Scott," I'm using you as my example. "Scott, come over." It's
a very likely scenario, by the way.
Did you meet these girls? Did you meet my friend Scott? The greats of the world that I've studied over the years, in a house party or lounge or something, they throw the energy into the center and they want everybody to be included equally. Nobody is left out, not even men. So,
well, that's the essence of being a cool guy, is helping other people feel cool. Yeah.
And so you do that with those girls. Those hot girls look over and notice that too. And there's no, and people say, what if those other girls that you're not attracted to think you're trying to pick them up? That doesn't happen. they understand, because of the nature of the whole thing. It's like the 80-year-old woman that you're flirting with. She doesn't think you're really trying to pick her up to take her home. There's no misleading information in there. Not at all. It's benevolence, and it's being kind, it's empathy, and it's realizing I was there too. I was that unattractive girl standing in the corner that no one would talk to. So I'm not. I won't have it in my presence. That's my craziness.
Well, I mean, again, that comes down to, do you love women or do you fear them? And if you're afraid women are out to hurt you and get you all the time, then you're also afraid that if you talk to an ugly woman, she's going to be chasing you down, trying to get with you and misread the whole situation.
That's a good way of saying it.
It's one fear after another.
That's correct.
As you were talking, I sensed you were going to get around to that wonderful nugget of life truth that I hope every guy listening tucks away as a major takeaway from this show, that when you are good to all women, the women you're particularly sexually attracted to will not only take notice, they'll be more intrigued by you and like you better because you like all women. They'll see the authenticity in who you are and what you're about. Because remember, every one of those women who's sexually attractive is being quote unquote hit on by guys who just want to get in their pants. It's a lot like, frankly, being a rich guy and having a bunch of women want your money. So they're busy playing keep away, and this is perceived by a lot of men as them not liking sex or being ornery or mean or somehow untoward towards them, when really it's a protection mechanism. So when you, Zan, show up and you love all women and it's genuine, this guard drops even in the most attractive women, and they're thinking to themselves, perceiving probably being a better word, the correct word, that, hey, you know what? You're not trying to get them. You're a lover of women who is genuinely wanting to relate and connect with them. And those women trust you more. Well, they trust you earlier and more often, frankly. And you're more likely to gain the genuine attraction of exactly the kind of women you are in turn attracted to when you take this simple step of simply liking them and expecting the best out of them first.
Yeah, and imagine this, there's no illusion. There's no woman that looks at me and thinks, oh, he's a nice guy. Nobody, even if they're not attracted to me, they think that guy's going to bend me over if I go near him. I have that fun, beautiful sense of abundance, that a real joy of the divine sexual energy that I've been created with. And so I really believe in that. And in my 20s and 30s, I was trying to hide, trying to be cool, and trying to, hide my sexuality. And now it's 100% radiant off me, and I'm not a pig. I have respect, I have empathy, but every woman can feel that there's something in me that I'm respectful. I adore women. I want women to be happy. The 80-year-old woman thinks, man, if I was 20 again, I want her to think that. And they know that there's no illusions about me. I'm here to bend the world over. That's who I am. So I love that aspect of it, but I also want them to have the same joy and feel like they're caught up in something too, as opposed to a convincing energy or trying to get them drunk or to manipulate in any way. So for me, it's like, I want any woman that comes, has an experience to be a sexual experience for me, I want her to be there with joy and because she wants it and she wants to be there. So there's something in me that's strong that way that, it's, I don't hide it anymore. And so I wanted to make that distinction, because a lot of guys will take a lot of the words that you say to like women or to love women, and they'll say, well, I like women, but they don't like me back. And it's because they're not portraying this visceral edge of adoring, that they like women's asses and they like women's faces and they like the smell and the essence and the beauty of women.
Yeah, there's this idea there that a lot of guys hold, that sex is this trick we hope to successfully play on women, because they don't want it. They're not horny. And
exactly.
Yet the primal truth, I mean, this isn't even something that's open for discussion. The actual biological truth is women who are heterosexual are not only horny because that's what drives sex and procreation. They're horny for dick. I mean, there are two types of people in this world, right? People who like to suck cock and people who don't. And women are the kind who do. We are the kind typically as heterosexual men who don't. So we somehow have a misunderstanding of how sexuality really works. But these women aren't going to be sexually attracted to you if you mean them harm or you're trying to trick them, because the trickery doesn't feel good at all.
Yeah, you don't believe in you as a sexual creature. women, like you are 100% right. And this is the secret that men go, if they look at me, go, no, not my sister. No. Yeah. Well, yeah. All of them, your aunt, your sister, everybody, they think about sex way more than men do. They imagine it with every man they meet. They have what they call the hover test, that they can hover, the picture of the guy hovering over them. He's got a chance, maybe. They are always in this mode of thinking this, but they disguise it very well, obviously. But if we knew what women are thinking and how dirty their minds really are, bless them, we would be much more relaxed and much more audacious in the way we represent ourselves.
Yeah, David Shade came on this show, of course, who's one of the OGs like you and I.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard from him in a long time.
Yeah, he's doing great. And he loves to talk about the book My Secret Garden by Nancy Friday.
Of course.
Which was written in the early 70s. And I'm in agreement with him, and I'm sure you are too, that every man should read that. It would blow your mind. I mean, women are dirty, filthy.
Oh, man,
just like
filthy.
us.
They are filthy and constant.
Yeah, and it's the social pressure to not be slutty that keeps it from being more outward. And I mean, especially with the younger generations and fourth wave feminism and Mama Gina embracing the slut and this, that, the other, you're seeing a smattering of women who are much more open about their sexual desires and hungers and things. But it is so true. Everything you're saying is absolute reality. And as frustrating as it sounds to a lot of these guys out here, and it must sound frustrating to a lot of guys if they're experiencing a drought with women, or they just don't perceive that women are liking them, that we really control this. I mean, we are men, we lead, we help women feel safe and comfortable in our presence, even with the sexuality that we are in turn not afraid of either. I mean, what you were just talking about in a nutshell, Zan, is embracing the fact that, yeah, you know what? I am a heterosexual man. I am horny, and that's okay. It doesn't make me a predator. It doesn't make me a jerk. It doesn't make me some sort of rapist for having a penis and liking female bodies and sex with women. It makes me normal. It makes me perfectly natural. And as long as I'm not trying to use a woman, manipulate her, or somehow lessen or darken her experience of sexuality, then chances are very good she's going to start feeling more comfortable with us being sexual towards her. I'll tell you, Zan, this goes right along with that, hand in hand, perhaps literally. You know, a lot of times guys are so busy slut-shaming women for being sexual that they talk themselves out of the bedroom.
Of course. The worst quality a man or a woman can have is to be judgmental. That is the opposite of generosity of spirit. It is to say, I don't like that guy, or I don't like that girl, or to judge. And there's one thing that gets my dander up is when I hear, like in my home, for instance, if somebody says, well, I feel this judgment energy coming out, I remove it. I can't have it. Don't be like this in my presence. Let's be generous of spirit. Let's assume the best and not assume the worst. And I mean, that's important. So yeah, it's part and parcel of the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a habit that creeps up on us. We start feeling a little bit more bitter and negative, and sometimes we get to the point where we don't even realize how deeply we've gotten into that mindset. And it's a decision and a reframing of habits and replacing them with new habits to decide, you know what, I'm going to give women a chance. I'm going to believe that they want the best for me, and that if I lead, they'll follow in the way that is much more favorable to my happiness, to my well-being, because I was more favorable to theirs first. And I guess on that note, Zan, it's time for us to talk about some of the things women do for us other than have sex with us that makes her life so much richer. Man, I could rattle off several of them rapid fire, but I'm going to go ahead and, since you're my guest, give you first crack at that.
Well, I honestly believe that we cannot be fully formed, in whatever archetype of man we are, whether a poet, a lover, a warrior spirit, king, whatever it is, we imagine ourselves to be or want to be. We cannot be fully fleshed out in that if we don't have the sense of the feminine spirit, and it sounds woo-woo, but it's real, inspiring us. And the idea of men's movements that are going to go sit in the forest and paint their faces and beat drums and be men again and like rage against women, it's doomed, because you're sitting in a circle with a bunch of dudes. And the idea is that we cannot have an effective men's movement or an effective women's movement without the counterbalancing energy of the polarity of men and women. I believe that the strongest thing we've lost is polarity. Women are more like men are more like women. We had this entire, equality movement for the last 100 years, whatever. We didn't get equality. We got sameness. and and it's blended together. And yes, that's politically incorrect to say, and I'll say it because I don't really care. It's the idea that men and women should blend all this together, become same. I think is a sin. I really do, and I think that the polarity is what we're missing. That's where now we have this antagonistic. Polarity has been replaced by aggression in the women and the men, where they want to attack each other and they want to knock each other down and they want to belittle each other and get the upper hand. And that's not polarity. That's not the greatness of the masculine spirit and the greatness of the female spirit on an equal plane, but different.
Yeah, while I would purport that there's a time and a place for men to be in community with each other and get in touch with their masculinity and to some degree with their machismo.
I shouldn't have come across as saying that, I take my own pilgrimages into my own and with men. So yeah, no, you need your fishing trips, you need all that. So I didn't mean to say that.
Right. Well, fair enough. But a lot of guys have a very hard time relating to other guys. Making male friends. And a lot of that has to do with a fear that making friends with a guy would mean you're gay. And, what am I here with this guy for? And that goes back to this misguided view of what sexuality is in general. Obviously, if you view women and interaction in general as a means to get sex, that's where you're going to have this misguided feeling of weirdness when you're hanging out with a guy trying to make friends with them. Whole movies have been made about that, like I Love You, Man, et cetera, et cetera. But I do completely understand what you're saying. And so when you're saying, the polarity is lost, the whole idea of the possibilities of men and women being in partnership together are lost because we just miss out. Because we're missing the concept that this is supposed to be a partnership. Women aren't there to destroy us, and we're not there to destroy them. Indeed, a lot of men have come to the conclusion that we must be some kind of wusses or somehow less than masculine or even anti-masculine for liking women and wanting women and appreciating women, when that's about the most warped concept I can think of. If men and women truly are designed to be in partnership, and come on, even at the biological level, we clearly are, then that mindset needs work, doesn't it, Zan?
Yeah, I think going back to this kind of concept that men are struggling with right now, I think that they believe that women have absconded with their responsibility. They have walked away from their responsibility of feminine, of being feminine. And, because they're listening to, the social media and the strident voices out there that are screeching on both sides of the aisles. And there's a silent majority, as you well know, that just don't say anything.
Because they're not angry. They have no axe to grind.
Yeah. And they don't want to get into that conversation. People ask me all the time, what do you think? I was asked on a radio show, this woman's radio show, the sexuality show. And she said, I asked my guests all this. What do you think pornography has done to our society? And I'm thinking, well, I have no answer to that. But surely you must, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what? I believe that pornography and the prevalence thereof has impacted our notions of intimacy, connecting. I get that. On a broad macro level, I understand that it has an impact on society. But I'm not interested in talking about it or studying it or researching it because there's enough voices talking about it. So it doesn't interest me that the politics or the gender wars or the pornography and what these types of things. My message to men and to women is let's walk around all that noise and all that strife that there's no answer to. Let's walk around it and look for the cohesion and the remembrance and the abundance of men being men, women being women, and celebrating thereof. And so let's head toward the light. And not mire into this social commentary, which I never do. You'll never see anything I've ever posted in 15 years on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, nothing that ever makes a comment on feminism, on anything. Because there's enough voices, and they don't need to hear my little rattling voice in the corner, and there's no winning. And so, I've talked at conventions that are red pill or heading red pill, and I just say my message, and there's somebody in the audience that wants to hear a different message, and they hear it. And I don't know or care if it's criticized or they poo-poo what I'm saying. That's okay too. So, but the idea is let's walk around this morass of complicated discussion, and let's sit in with our brethren and our sisters and enjoy an experience. That's my thing.
I guess you could say if your entire goal is to get more ass, you're going to wind up with a morass.
There you go. Funny. I like it.
Yeah, you got to stick a fork in this one after I make a bad joke like that. Anyway,
his name is... I like bad puns. That's right up my alley.
Oh, boy. I speak fluent Spanish, and anyone who doesn't speak Spanish has no idea the jokes they're missing out on. It is so much easier to be funny in Spanish. It's just everything flows. The puns write themselves.
I love it.
Yeah. Anyway, his name is Zan Perrion of Ars Amorata. His popular book, The Alabaster Girl, is going to be at the top of the queue on my Amazon influencer page, which is mountaintoppodcast.com/Amazon. And I'll tell you what else. If you go to mountaintoppodcast.com/Zan, Z-A-N, you will be pointed to the website for that very book, The Alabaster Girl, where Zan will send you a signed copy of it for free. Can't beat that.
From Romania.
From Romania. Wow. I guess the guys just pay shipping, right?
You pay for shipping, and basically I lose $1 a book, I think, but I want people to read it. And I hand sign it, and I'll send it out to you, and you'll get it within a week or two. Right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So guys, go to mountaintoppodcast.com/Zan and get you some. Zan Perrion, what a great conversation. It took a whole lot of different directions than frankly I expected it to, all of them wonderful. And so thank you for joining us today, gracing us with your wisdom as always, and best to you and your lovely wife.
Thank you so much, Scott. It's fantastic to be here again. And I like that you've been doing this for all these years, and you've just been a steady rock and a good voice for men and for women.
Likewise,
so it's good.
Likewise.
Yeah.
And guys, if you haven't been to mountaintoppodcast.com lately, go there, sign up to talk to me free for 25 minutes. You can do so by clicking the red button in the upper right-hand corner of the site. When you do that, I promise you results in advance. We'll talk about where you are right now, where you'd like to be with women, perhaps identify a couple areas right then and there that you can start working on so that you feel good about the call. And if you want to put together a plan of action that's going to take you from here to where you want to be and get those results in your life and help you feel better about the women you're interacting with in the way that we've talked about on this show today, and get the right woman in your life ultimately, like both Zan and I have personally. We walk that talk, gentlemen. Go ahead and sign up to talk to me. All of that and more is there for you at mountaintoppodcast.com. While you're there, please visit the guys at Origin in Maine. That's Jocko Willink's company. Get your hands on some of those bison boots. And also the jeans made by Origin are not only very stylish, they're jeans you could actually go to work in. Imagine that. Stylish jeans that are actually functional. They're about as masculine a pair of trousers you're ever going to find. And I personally have several pairs of them, and they fit wonderfully, and they're incredibly durable, American made, as is Hero Soap. If you go and visit Hero Soap using the link you'll also find at mountaintoppodcast.com, you can use the coupon code Mountain10 to take 10% off your order. Gentlemen, no parabens, no phthalates, nothing that's going to decrease your sperm count, feminize you, all these things like bring your testosterone count down, all these things that we as guys fear so much. A lot of that's happening because of the soap and shampoos we use, gentlemen. Not so much when you use the all-natural and great smelling products by the guys over at herosoap.com. Take 10% off your order both there and with Origin in Maine by using the coupon code Mountain10 at checkout. And with that, until I talk to you guys again real soon, this is Scott McKay from X and Y Communications in San Antonio, Texas. Be good out there.
The Mountaintop Podcast is produced by X and Y Communications. All rights reserved worldwide. Be sure to visit www.mountaintoppodcast.com for show notes. And while you're there, sign up for the free X and Y Communications newsletter for men. This is Ed Roy Odom speaking for the Mountaintop Podcast.